Hi there, and thank you for tuning in. Shooting tethered with your Nikon D4, there are really many options. You can use a local area network cable like this one, because it actually has a connector for that. I'm not sure I've seen that on the other cameras, but the D4 has it. You can use HDMI, you can use USB as I'm doing here, and you can also go wireless. Lots of options. I'm not going to show all of it today. I just want to show you one option, and that is to go with the USB as I'm showing here. I have a cable here from TetherPro. Some say that the HDMI is more stable if you have long cables. I would say this is a fairly long cable, USB, and I've had no issues with it. But be aware that there is that distinction. The basic idea is that when your camera is connected to your PC, every image that is taken on the camera will be transferred to the PC, and where you can edit it right away, and you can see it on a much larger screen than what you would otherwise be able to do. I think this kind of shooting tethered would be most relevant for either portrait photography or product photography, and I use it a lot for I use it a lot for product photography, as I'm showing you here. So just to illustrate how it works, the important thing is that you have, of course, a cable with the right connectors. The Nikon D4 takes a mini USB in one end, and then the other end, it's a little bit determined, of course, which PC you're using. I used to have a PC that took the classic USB connectors, but because I'm now using a Mac, it has to be USB-C, and therefore I have this little converter that takes USB in one end and makes it to USB-C in the other end. So you may find that that's also necessary for you. It's a little bit cheaper than buying a new cable, of course. This is a cable from TetherPro, I think they're called, and I'm not sponsored, but it works really well. In order to protect the cable, I have here on the table made a little loop so that if someone starts pulling the cable for various reasons, then the load is not on the connection itself, but it is actually on this little loop. The same thing here on the camera. I have one of these, I think they're called jerk stoppers, a terrible name, but the point is again that you protect the connector in the camera from whatever could happen to the cable. So I would strongly advise you, if you like the cabled option, that you get gear like this to protect both your investment in your laptop and in your Nikon D4. In terms of the software, there are tons of options, and I'm using Lightroom here. I would like to use Photoshop, but there is not a plugin, as far as I know, that will enable me to shoot tethered directly into Photoshop, unfortunately. So Lightroom it is. You can also use some of Nikon software, and there are probably other vendors that allow you to shoot tethered and that support the Nikon D4. But today it's Lightroom, just to give you a feel for what you can do with this. And what I do is I simply go into the file menu, and about 1/3 down there is the tethered capture, and I can start the tethered capture. You will see that it starts looking for the camera right after it has given you a screen where you are to key in some data to classify the shooting session. I would say you can play with this yourself. I won't go through all the details, but choose the name of the session a little bit carefully, because it will be baked into all the file names. But let's just get past this and then get to the good stuff. Now the laptop here is looking for the camera, and I need to make sure it's turned on. As you can see, because I hadn't turned on the camera, it can't find it. It will stand in this sort of mode here and say detecting camera, and it will do so for a very long time. So in order to make sure that your camera connects to your PC right away, make sure your camera is turned on, that the cable is connected before you go into File, Tether Capture, and then say Start Tether Capture. Now you can see as I go detecting camera, and boom, there you have the little control window. This little window that I'm showing you here is where you can edit or sort of control the camera, the most basic functions of the camera. If you like to shoot or control with the camera from the PC, and that can be useful if your camera is sitting maybe out of reach, way above your head. That is really useful. Otherwise, you can just shoot as you would normally with the camera, and the images will be transferred to the computer. It works both ways. So if I'm changing something here on the camera, you can see now I'm changing the aperture, and you can see now it drops from 7.1 to 4.5, and I can go the other way and change this one and say now I want to shoot at f9, and you can see here, boom, it changes to f9. Maybe that's a little bit difficult to see given this setup, but that's the way it works. So it's a little bit like a distributed database where the computer and the camera keep each other in sync and make sure they have the same values. But otherwise, there isn't that much to it. It's just to shoot, and then you can see the image is almost immediately transferred to the computer. And here you can work with it as you would normally do. You can go into develop mode and say, I would like to do a few basic edits. Let's just change the exposure here like this, and you can go pixel peeping if you like. And one of the advantages, of course, is that you have a much bigger screen here available than what you have here on the back side of your Nikon D4. And of course, if you have a monitor that's even bigger than the one I'm showing here, the advantage, of course, is that much bigger as well. So it really works well in that sense, and you can do the editing and you can spot mistakes right away, things that you wouldn't be able to capture on your rare LCD. That's actually it. I hope this was inspirational. The intention wasn't to give you a complete guide as to how to shoot tethered, but just an appetizer and a small path through the woods here, so you can work or start working with tethered shooting yourself. As always, happy shooting. Take care. Bye-bye.